皆さん、また来てくださってありがとうございます。こちらはマンハッタンニューヨーク、水曜日の朝です。ということでね、今日は以前ね、私のこの動画を見てくださってる方で、トランプ大統領の副大統領候補に RFK さんとかありえませんかねって聞かれたことがあって、私はそれは私も望むところだけれどもそれはないだろうと思いますよ。なぜかっていうと RFK ジュニアがそのポジションを欲しいかどうかっていうのもありますし、もともとこれ共和党ですからトランプさんが、やっぱりそのトランプさんを支えてきた人たちもいるからそこから選ぶんじゃないかなって私は思ってたんですね。今回これに関して、RFK さんがコメントしてるんですよ。なぜかっていうと RFK さんがどうやらトランプさんじゃなくてトランプさんの陣営の誰かからそういう話、その打診というか、もしかしてそういう気はありますかみたいな感じで、その時にね、やっぱり私が予想したようにですね、自分はそのポジションに興味がないっていうことをおっしゃってた。別の見解があって、それは私が全然知らないことだったんですけど、 RFK さんの人気はそのジェン Z、ジェネレーション Z 世代にすごく人気があるんですね、彼って。だからやっぱりトランプさんとバイデンさんと両方にやっぱり打撃を与えてるわけなんですけど、どっちかというとトランプさんの方にもっと打撃を与えてるんですね。その共和党の中で RFK 推しの人が多いから。ただそのベイビーブーマー、いわゆる我々よりもうワン世代上の人たちはどうやら RFK さんを押してないみたいなんですよ。そこのジェネレーションは RFK さんに入れないみたいなんですね。でそれはなぜかっていうと、ベビーブーマーって言ったらやっぱりJFK、本物の JFK とか RFK、 彼のお父さんの世代ですよね。でそれがね、やっぱりね、若者世代っていうのは腐敗に立ち向かって直していくっていうそういうのがあるから彼を推すんだけど、そのベビーブーマーの世代70代ですよねの人たちっていうのはほとんどが既存メディア CNN とか MSNBC とかそういう ABC とかそういうのしか見てない人が多いから、やっぱりその既存メディアは彼のことを陰謀論者とか反ワクチンの怪物だとかって言ってこう印象操作をしてるから、やっぱりそういう人たちは彼に入れないと。でやっぱりね、この番組を見てた時にたくさんの人が、私もベイビーブーマーだけどやっぱりRFK は支持しないって言ってたんですね。ネットを見る人でもですよ。だからやっぱりこの時代背景というか、やっぱりケネディ家っていうのはお金持ちですから、やっぱりそういうお金持ち対庶民っていうのがあるのかななんて思ったりしたんですね。ということで今日は RFK ジュニアトランプさんの BP 候補は 100% なしという雑談と、動画はねタッカー・カールソンの、イランに関して載っけます。ということでどうぞ。
Yesterday, the Pentagon announced that 3 U.S. troops had been killed and dozens injured after a drone loaded with explosives struck them at a base in Jordan near the Syrian border. But there is no question that American troops were killed yesterday, and the reaction to that, mixed with sadness, was highly political, in fact, even strategic. Within moments of this news breaking, Lindsey Graham, the Republican senator from South Carolina, called for blood. Quote, "Hit Iran now. Hit them hard," he tweeted. Nikki Haley, of course, piled on. Here's what she posted to X. Quote, "As a military spouse, my heart breaks for the families who lost loved ones. This shows the barbaric nature of our enemies in Iran, and it shows that they would not be attacking our troops if Joe Biden weren't so weak in his treatment of Iran. We should retaliate with full force, the full force of American strength. It's the only way to prevent further war. If we do not, these attacks will continue." Interesting. All of this came immediately. They were joined by Wes Clark, the former presidential candidate and commander of NATO, and buffoons like John Cornyn, who apparently is a senator from Texas, etc., all saying the same thing. Let's go to war with Iran. They all said this in both sides. Here's Nancy Pelosi on CNN telling you yesterday that anyone who is not for this, who would like, say, a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, is working for Vladimir Putin.
For for them to call for a ceasefire is Mr. Putin's message. Mr. Putin's message. Make no mistake, this is directly connected to what he would like to see. Same thing with Ukraine. It's about Putin's message. I think some of these protesters are spontaneous and organic and sincere. Some, I think, are connected to Russia, and I say that having looked at this for a long time now. As you know,
think some of these protests are Russian plants?
I think they're plants. I think some financing should be investigated, and I want to ask the FBI to investigate that.
It's hard for most people to believe that a person in his or her 80s could be evil, but she is evil, and she's speaking lies. What you heard is totally dishonest. But there's a point to the dishonesty, and that is a war with Iran, which people in Washington have been agitating for more than 20 years. So are we going to war with Iran? Are we already in a war with Iran? And if so, what are the consequences? Most Americans have no idea. It's not even something they're thinking about, but they should be. Joe Kent is a former Green Beret. He's a combat veteran who lost his wife in one of these wars. He's running for Congress in Washington State in the 3rd Congressional District, and he has an interesting and highly informed perspective on this, and we're honored to have him join us now. Joe Kent, thank you so much for coming on today. So when you see all of this, and you hate to be cynical, but you really can't be too cynical when you're dealing with the war party in Washington. It did seem like a coordinated response very quickly, moments after the announcement of the tragic death of these American servicemen. What do you make of the response from both parties in Washington to the deaths yesterday?
I mean, this whole thing, we've seen it coming, Tucker. We left our troops in these vulnerable locations, like on the Jordanian, Syrian, and Iraqi border. Our troops have been attacked, we think, at least 150 times since the October 7th incident began. And so we've seen this coming. This was an inevitable conclusion. So by leaving our troops in these locations, undefended essentially, we left them there as bait because so many people in Washington, D.C. want to go to war with Iran. They want to go to a war with Iran so badly that we will prop up the government of Iraq while the government of Iraq is completely controlled by Iran. We spend billions of dollars every single year funding, arming, training, and equipping the Iraqi government so they can turn around and support the exact same militias that just killed our troops. Biden said it himself in his statement. He accused Iranian-backed militants operating in Iraq and Syria of conducting this attack that killed the 3 Americans and wounded nearly 30 more. That is nothing short of saying the Popular Mobilization Forces, which is part of the Iraqi military that we support. So if you look at just the full scope of the way that we have arranged ourselves in the Middle East, who we're supporting and where our troops are, there's no other logical conclusion other than the fact that we have left them there as bait to be killed by Iranians at the time and place of their choosing so that we can continue to escalate towards a conflict with Iran. And like you said, there was a very coordinated series of talking points that came out almost immediately that we need to go and strike back against Iran. And look, we do need to strike back. We can't just let this go unanswered. But if we start taking strikes inside of Iran itself, that is exactly what the Iranian regime wants. They will benefit from that. If we start attacking Iran the way that we attacked Iraq, the way we attacked Afghanistan, then the Iranian government, the Iranian mullahs, the Ayatollah, the people will rally around them in support. We should be taking calculated strikes back at Iranian proxy groups for self-defense, and then we should immediately get our troops out of these foolish locations before we lose more blood and treasure for absolutely nothing in the Middle East, and before we're sucked further into a regional war.
So if we could just go back to something you said at the beginning, which I think is demonstrably true, that American policymakers have left American citizens in these countries in order to be killed so they can justify killing more American citizens in a broader war against a very well-armed country, Iran. If that is true, that's evil. That's a crime. So how is that not a crime?
It's 100% a crime, Tucker. Look, it's absolute insanity. And we have to ask ourselves as American citizens, what do we gain from this? If we're going to deploy our troops and we're going to lose our best and our brightest, and we're going to spend trillions of dollars, what do we, the American people, gain? At the same time, we just lost 3 Americans defending the Jordanian-Syrian border. Our border is wide open. Fentanyl's killing over 118,000
Exactly.
of our citizens. 10 million illegal invaders have come into our country. So where are the priorities of our ruling class? And I think it's absolutely evil. I think it's completely and totally treasonous. And we need to get these people out of office as soon as possible.